What's up guys, it's Zach from the Pampered Pup and I'm here for another fresh dog food showdown. Today we're going to do a comparison of Nom Nom versus A Pup Above. Two very good fresh dog food brands, both a pleasure to eat. And today I'm going to compare the two right here on camera in terms of quality, that is how they look, how they smell, how they taste. And in terms of convenience for the pet owner, what's the ordering like, what's the shipping like, how long can you keep it in the fridge once it's defrosted. And lastly I'm going to talk about how these two fresh dog food brands compare on cost. And I'll do that in a way that ensures we're making a fair comparison across the brands. So hopefully I'll answer any question you might have regarding what makes either Nom Nom or A Pup Above the right choice for your fluff ball. But before we get too far into the details, I just want to say that for most dog owners out there, Nom Nom's probably going to be your better choice. Both of these dog foods are excellent quality, but the price gap between the two brands is quite a bit larger than the quality gap. If you don't mind paying a bit more money for a little extra quality, you might want to check out the Farmer's Dog. They're one of my favorite fresh dog food brands out there, and the price gap between Nom Nom and the Farmer's Dog isn't quite so drastic. But if you do decide to go ahead with either Nom Nom or A Pup Above, make sure to use my links in the description of this video to get a nice discount on your first order. With Nom Nom right now, that's 50% on your first box, and with A Pup Above, that's $50 off your first box. Those discounts might change over time, but I'll make sure to keep those links updated with the best deal that I currently have my hands on at any given point. So now let's dive into this comparison and see how these fresh dog foods stack up in terms of quality. So today I have two recipes from each brand. I have Nom Nom's beef mash and chicken cuisine, and I have A Pup Above's Texas beef stew and chicka chicka bow wow. So we're going to be comparing the beef to the beef and the chicken to the chicken. First thing I do when evaluating the quality of any fresh dog food is I assess the visual appearance. Basically I just take a look at it. Does it look appealing? Does it look like something I'd want to eat? Let's start with the beef recipe here from Nom Nom. But just taking a look at this Nom Nom recipe here, you can see nice big chunks of potato, scrambled eggs, you can see whole green peas, neither carrots or sweet potatoes, difficult to say, and nice chunks of ground beef. Definitely some nice ingredients in there, and you can definitely pick out exactly what they are. On the other hand, with A Pup Above beef recipe, you can see whole green peas here, nice chunks of sweet potato, and definitely chunks of ground beef. It's unfortunate to report that the recipes don't look quite as nice as advertised on their website. They still don't look that bad, and definitely better than other fresh dog food brands out there, but I have to say without a doubt, the Nom Nom beef recipe here looks much more appealing than A Pup Above's equivalent. Let's take a look now at Nom Nom's chicken recipe. And as with the beef, you see nice large chunks of the ingredients here. There's sweet potatoes, there's whole chunks of chicken meat, and there's some greens in here. Again, you can pretty clearly see exactly what you're looking at, which is nice to see in any fresh dog food. Let's contrast that with A Pup Above's chicka chicka bow wow. So here it's a little bit more difficult to pick out what you're looking at. I can see some grains of rice, I can definitely see some greens in there, but other than that, it looks kind of like a homogeneous mash. It does look a little bit more solid, not like a paste, but it's definitely difficult to pick out the different ingredients you're looking at by eye. So to me, the clear winner in terms of appearance is Nom Nom. And now for the fun part. Let's see firsthand how each of these recipes smells and how they taste. I'll start with the beef recipe from Nom Nom. So yeah, definitely smells clean. There's a bit of a sweet smell, perhaps from the sweet potato, but overall it doesn't smell like there's too much going on. You're mostly picking up on the aromas of the ingredients themselves, and it definitely smells fairly fresh. Let's give it a taste. What I've always appreciated about Nom Nom is the excellent texture. Those nice big chunks of ingredients really make for a pleasant chewing experience. The most notable flavor in this beef mash is the beef itself. It really comes through and it's quite savory and nice. There's not too much complexity in the flavor, that's pretty much all there is to it, but it tastes fresh, the texture's great, and it's definitely something I'd be happy to feed my dog. Let's contrast that with A Pup Above's Texas beef stew. So just taking a smell here, you can really, there's a lot more going on in A Pup Above's recipes, and that tends to be the case across the board. There's definitely some herbal smells here. I believe they use thyme and parsley in a lot of their recipes. I'm not sure exactly what's in this one, but that smell really dominates the aromatic palette here. You're not smelling much of the ingredients themselves. So let's go ahead and give the Texas beef stew a taste. So as my nose detected, there are a lot more aromatic elements with the A Pup Above recipe. There's definitely some herbs in here, perhaps maybe some other flavors going into that profile as well. More complex, more going on than there is with the Nom Nom recipe. And to me, my preference is clear. I think the Nom Nom tastes quite a bit better. Nothing against the Pup Above, it also tastes great. It's just that the Nom Nom beef recipe tastes fresh, it tastes clean, and it's a bit more of an enjoyable experience for me. So now let's move on to the chicken cuisine from Nom Nom. I'll give it a smell first. And here what really comes through is the smell of the sweet potato. It's quite sweet, it's quite pronounced, I would say. It definitely dominates the aromatic palette here. Let's give it a try. So as before, great texture with this Nom Nom recipe. The nice large chunks of chicken really make a big difference, and the sweet potatoes add a nice contrast to the texture. You definitely taste that sweet potato too, which tastes nice and fresh, and the chicken tastes great as well. No problems there, no complaints there, pretty happy with it, and I would definitely feed that to my dog. Let's compare that to the A Pup Above chicken recipe. This is their Chicka Chicka Bow Wow. So this one's a little bit more subdued than the beef recipe, some herbal elements going on, there's some aromatic components beyond the ingredients that you see themselves. Let's go ahead and taste it. So the texture here is much less interesting than you get with Nom Nom's recipe. However, I think the flavor with A Pup Above's recipe is much more appealing. The aromatic components are mild and synergistic, and they really make this recipe come together in a nice and balanced fashion. So while I think the texture of Nom Nom's chicken cuisine is a little bit better, I think the flavor of A Pup Above's Chicka Chicka Bow Wow has the edge. So Nom Nom gets 1 point for the beef recipe, and A Pup Above gets 1 point for the chicken recipe. I guess it's a toss-up. A couple more notes on the quality before we move on. Both of these companies use whole ingredients in their recipes, and they add in a nutrient blend to make sure that the food meets AAFCO standards. Both companies also claim that their recipes are developed by veterinary nutritionists, although Nom Nom states that they're board certified, whereas A Pup Above doesn't mention that as far as I can see. One big difference here is that while Nom Nom uses USDA grade A ingredients in their recipes, A Pup Above actually makes their food in USDA inspected kitchens. So to me, that's a little bit higher level of assurance on the quality. And lastly, in terms of nutrition, I typically focus on the protein. Nom Nom's recipes have about 7 to 10% protein as fed, which is a bit below the industry standard, but not by much. On the other hand, A Pup Above's recipes are packed with protein, coming in at about 13 to 14% as fed, which is definitely higher than average, and I think one of A Pup Above's stronger selling points. So now let's talk a bit about how convenient each of these companies are for the pet owners themselves. Like almost every other fresh dog food company out there, Nom Nom does require that you hold a subscription in order to purchase their fresh dog food. That said, it's as easy as can be to cancel your subscription if you're not satisfied or if you just want to take a break. All you have to do is log into your account on their website and click cancel, answer a couple of questions, and you're good to go. No more shipments, no more billing, no questions asked. A Pup Above stands apart from all the other companies by allowing you to purchase their dog food without a subscription, which I think is nice. You can get single flavors or multi-packs, and you can even subscribe if you want to bring your price down a little bit, but it's definitely not required. And when it comes to shipping, I placed my order with Nom Nom on a Friday night, and they told me right away that my order would be there the following Saturday, or 5 business days later. Due to a mishap on the carrier's end, it didn't actually arrive until the following Monday, so while it felt like a delay on my end, it was actually 5 business days in transit, either way you look at it. A Pup Above had the longest shipping time I've seen of any of these fresh dog food brands. I placed my order on a Sunday, and it arrived not the following Thursday, but the Thursday after that. So that's a full 8 business days in transit. Both of these companies pack their shipments really well on dry ice to make sure that they're nice and frozen when they arrive at your doorstep. And in the case of Nom Nom, even with that shipping mishap on the carrier's end, my food was still frozen when it arrived at my doorstep. It's kind of surprising considering I spent an entire extra day and then some in the warehouse, and the dry ice was completely evaporated when it got here. So that means that these shipments are packed really, really well. Both of these companies use completely recyclable insulation to keep these shipments cold. I find that's a nice touch because it makes it really easy to get rid of the box of packing materials when you unpack the food. And speaking of packaging, the frozen patties I received from each of these companies are quite similar in shape. The main difference is that Nom Nom came in at just about 400 grams per patty, or a little bit under a pound, whereas A Pup Above is right about a pound per patty. In other words, they're very similar. And in terms of serving, both companies say that the food should be consumed within 7 days of thawing. That's a bit more time than a lot of the other fresh dog food companies offer. Last but not least, and perhaps most importantly in this case, is how much do these fresh dog foods cost? I'll start by saying this is one of the most drastic spreads that I've come across so far. As I mentioned at the top of this video, I like to compare the cost of fresh dog foods on a dollars per pound basis. This helps keep things even when you're comparing from brand to brand. When I did the calculations, Nom Nom came out at about $4 per pound, whereas A Pup Above came in at a whopping $13 per pound. And that's if you buy their multi-pack, which is a similar amount of food and variety that you get with a subscription from other fresh dog food brands. If you just buy a single flavor and a small quantity of it, the price can be almost double that with A Pup Above. So while I think both of these are great quality dog foods and both of them taste great in their own right, I don't think that the high price tag with A Pup Above really justifies any disparity in quality. If you're just looking for a one-off fresh dog food, it might be worth giving it a try, but if you're diving in full force, then I think Nom Nom's going to be the better deal. And again, if you do decide to go with either Nom Nom or A Pup Above, make sure to use my links in the description of this video to get a nice discount. At the time I'm filming, it's 50% off your first box with Nom Nom or $50 off your first box with A Pup Above. And if that changes over time, I'll make sure to keep those links updated. While Nom Nom's probably the better choice of these two for most dog owners, I'd also recommend you check out The Farmer's Dog, and I'll leave my review of The Farmer's Dog playing right here as this video comes to a close. Thanks so much for watching, and I really hope this helps you find a delicious tasting dog food for your pup.